All right, hello there. Welcome to this episode of Quick and Dirty How-Tos. All right, so and for this one, let's go ahead and open up Xcode Playgrounds. Make sure you select the single view playground. And so when you load it, it should have basically a view to work with. So this is what we want to start with. And then usually what I do, especially when I'm coding in this, is I will pause it, but I'll actually do manual run. So if you click and you hold down that little down arrow, it'll give you the option to automatically run or manually run. I actually prefer manually run because it tries to do all those calculations as I'm adding code, and it kind of annoys me. So if it annoys you, definitely do the manual run. Okay, so in this video, we're going to build or play around with building a table view with sections. To be honest, I couldn't find anything, any tutorials, like video tutorials on how to do this. Maybe my search skills just suck, but who knows. So I decided to do this really quickly because I actually needed to do sections for my app, and it was quite the experience. So I'm actually going to do something really similar to my app. So if you go to, where is this at? So you can find this template or iOS kit here on Sketch app resources. So I have Sketch, I believe this is three or four. I can't remember which version it is. It's the newest one. But basically, if you go here, you can actually download this kit for free. So this is what I'm going to be basing this tutorial on, or actually this and the following ones. So basically what I want to do is I want to emulate this section here. So I have featured recipes and latest. So I want these two to show. And then we will build this out later. I just want to get the main functionality of having the featured recipes and the latest. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today. All right, so the first thing we need to do is actually build out the recipe class. I'm doing a class. There's many ways you can do this. You can do this as a struct, but because I plan on using something else, I'm going to just do it the way I'm going to do it. So I'm actually going to paste my class in here. So it's a recipe class, and if we look at that again, we can see that we have a photo here, a category, the recipe name, how long it takes to make, how easy it is or difficult, the difficulty, and how many, the number of people it serves. So I've added everything here except for whether it has the flag for latest. So I'm actually going to go ahead and add that since I forgot. And I'm going to do bool. So we do flag. Do featured flag, yeah. Something kind of descriptive. And then I'm going to see here. I think I might have forgotten something. Recipe prep difficulty. Oh yeah, so I forgot to finish out serves and dish, so I know I forgot something. So we do self serves equals serves. I'm going to initialize a couple of these. And I made dish image optional because in this particular example, I'm not going to import a image into Playground. I'm going to actually do that to the app. All right, so we got dish image, and then I did featured flag. Okay, so there we go. my class is complete. So the next thing I need to do is, I'm actually going to create some space here, is I'm actually going to build out the table view. Now with table view, we need a couple of things. The first thing we need to do is actually make this a table view class. So we need to do UI table view controller. I'm going to bring that space down. And then we have our load view, which is pretty similar to our view did load. Okay, so I'm going to actually just remove all this. All right, so the first thing I need to do is actually have a view did load. So let's go ahead and do override. Function view did load. And I'm going to do super view did load. And I'm going to do table view delegate equals self, table view data source equals self. Okay, and I'm going to pause just right there at this point. And then what I need to do is actually bring in a title array. So if we look back at our thing, we have the latest and the featured. So I'm actually just going to create an array that just contains those two titles. Actually, I'm going to make this a let statement because it's not going. I'm going to make it a constant. There's no need to actually have that a variable. I'm going to do my array. Latest. Okay. All right, so going on to the next thing we need to do is we need basically a variable to hold our array of, what do you call it? An array of our recipes. Now, there's different ways you can do this. I did a multi-dimensional array for this. That's what I'm going to do for this example, but you can use a struct if you want to. Basically, you just replace what I have here with the struct syntax and it works just as well. I decided to go with the multi-dimensional array because it was just a lot less typing for me. So again, there's multiple ways of doing things. I don't know, maybe this is not the best way to do it, not sure, but for me and for what I need it for at the moment, it's working. So just want to put that out there. If you say, hey, you can use a struct, yes, you can, very well. But because I'm using actually a class and I just feel better and it's a lot easier for me to handle in an array, in a multi-dimensional array. Okay, so that's what I'm going to create. So I'm going to do var data, and again, a multi-dimensional array basically is an array that holds an array. It's basically what it is. And inside that array is going to be the recipes up here, my class. And then I'm going to initialize it with up here parentheses. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually register our, actually I probably should do this later, but I'm going to do it right now so I don't forget. So inside the view to load, I actually need to register my cell. And again, I'm doing this programmatically. You can do this in Storyboard very easily. I'm doing it here. So I'm going to do register. I'm going to do UI table view. Oops. UI table view cell dot class for coder. And if we hold down the Option key, we can find out what that is. So basically, this is just a table view cell. I just bring it in programmatically. And my cell reuse identifier is just going to be cell. So I'm just going to type in cell. So that's the name of my cell. All right. So the next thing I need to do is actually bring in some sample data. So I'm actually just going to create a function here. Bring it down. This is going to be at the very, very end. I'm actually going to do, I guess I can do a mark statement. Don't know if this will show up It probably won't, but you can do a mark statement indicating that we have a function here that's not really related to TableView. So the function is going to load sample data. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load sample data. What this is going to allow us to do is load my array up here with something to work with. So I need to create a couple of recipes. So I'm just going to type this out real quick. All right, so we have all of our recipes done. Make sure you change some things around so that it creates a really nice little look here. All right. So the next thing I need to do is I need to add them to an array to hold all of the recipes. So I'm going to do let recipes equal, and I'm going to just insert all the recipes. So recipe 1, recipe 2, recipe 3, recipe 4, and 5. Let's create some space here. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is actually I need to go through each of these recipes and then sort them out based on whether they are featured or not. So I'm going to do another function here that's going to go ahead and sort through the recipes. And this is actually going to take the recipes and it's not just going to only take a recipe, but it needs to be an array that is a recipe of type recipe. And this isn't going to output anything because what I'm going to do is I'm going to populate my my data variable up here with it. So the reason why I pulled this out, because I could have very well done this up here, but it's best if your functions only do one thing at a time. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do var recipe featured, and I'm going to create an array of recipe. And then I'm going to do recipe, oh, what was the other one? Oh, latest. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so basically I'm going to go through each of the recipes one by one and put them in the correct bin, basically. So I'm going to do a for loop. So for recipe and recipes, I want it to do sort. So if recipe is featured flag, then I want to pop it into the featured array. So let's go ahead and do that. So we do a recipe featured, and we go ahead and append it. If not, then I want to just go into the latest. So recipe latest, and then append recipe. Okay, then after it goes through all of that, what I want to do is I want it to basically append these groups of recipes, so each bag, into the data array above. So I'm going to append sorted recipes to the data variable. Okay, so again, we just do data, append, And we'll do, let's see, which one I did do first. Okay, so featured recipes is first, so I want to add that one first. That's all right? Featured? Yes, okay. So we do recipe featured, and then I want to then append the other one. Okay. And then here, I want to go ahead and call my sorted recipe function down here. So basically, as soon as it's done creating the sample data, it automatically appends it to where it needs to go. All right. Go ahead and save that. Okay, we have no errors. Great. All right, that's a lot of stuff there, but we need it. We need it to do that. Okay, so on to the main event. There's a couple things we need to do in order to create sections. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and add our sample data method to the viewDidLoad. And then let's go ahead and build the table view. So there are a handful of variables that we need to touch. One is number of sections. Then we need to do table view, number of rows in section. Then we need to do self for row at. I think, oh no, one more. Title for header in section, because we have to give the sections headers. All right, so let's get down and dirty. All right, so we're going to do an override here, function, and we're going to do number of sections. All right. So the number of sections, what we're going to do is we're going to actually just use we're going to have it count how many individual groups are inside the data variable. So we're going to do return data count. And it should be 2 because that's all I did. Actually, yes. Maybe it should be the header titles. Yeah, it should be header titles. Sorry about that. So it's going to count the header titles because that's what we're going to use for its sections. So count number of titles. Okay, so the next method we need to do is, actually make this kind of clear. I do a table view methods so we know what we're doing. Okay. And up here is our properties. I'm sorry, I have to do this. And these are our actions. All right. All right, so the next thing we need to do, another override. We're going to do table view function, table view, see, number of rows. So here you see we don't have it, and if we scroll, there's a lot to scroll through. So usually what I do, I just start typing what I'm looking for, and usually, so I did NU, and the number of rows in section came up, and that's what I need. If you didn't know that already, I thought that was pretty nifty. All right, so in this here, we need to count the number of embedded recipe arrays in each section to determine the number of rows to output. So I know that sounds like crazy a lot, but bear with me. So I'll just type this out so you have that. So basically, we're going to count the number of embedded arrays in each section. So there's 2 sections. So it's going to go into the section, because basically what we have is 2. So we have 2 buckets. So you have 2 buckets here. One contains the featured, one contains the latest. And then it's going to count the ones that are in there. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to do return. And we're going to do our data. And inside of here, we want to say, I want you to look at the sections. And then count. And you're asking, where did I get the section part? Oops. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right. I got it from here. So I'm saying the section here, find it, and then count them. Okay, so then the next thing I need to do, oops, scroll up a little bit. Another override, another function. All right, so I need to do TableView. Oops, that's not what I meant to do at all. All right, TableView. So we have number of rows. We need cell for row at. So there we go. So I did CE for cell for row at. Okay. And I have to do this here because it's getting kind of scrunched. I want to be really clear. Okay, so in this section, I need to pull out the cell information from the array that is embedded. So the first thing I need to do actually is dequeue the cell with the identifier cell, basically. And I'm actually going to use a guard statement here. This might fail. I know it's not going to because I have it in there, but just in case, it's really good to go ahead and just do a guard statement just to handle errors. So we're going to do TableView.dequeue reusable cell with identifier for index path. And with the identifier, it's the cell that I created up here. So this is the identifier. I created the cell as it was loading, or as the view started loading. And then index path is going to be just index path. And then index path basically represents the path to a specified node in a tree of nested array collections. So that's what I'm doing. It's a nested array collection that I'm working with. Okay, and then since I used a guard statement, I need to do an else. Oops, where am I? Oh, there it is. All right, I need to do an else statement here. And I'm just going to do return. So if it fails, it's going to just jump right out. Otherwise, if it's successful, it's going to keep on going down through what I wanted to do. So I need to set up a couple properties here. So I'm going to set up text by calling. So I'm going to just type this out because it just makes more sense. I'm going to be calling one, the index path section, and then the row to pull out the property that I wanted to output. So I'm going to do cell.text label dot text equals, and here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to do data, and as I did before up here with the section, I'm going to do index path section, and then I'm also going to do the index path at the row. Oopsie, I didn't mean to do capitalize, I'm too lowercase. So index path, oops, don't know why it keeps on wanting to capitalize it. Smaller one, the variable from here, that's what I'm trying to pull out for row. And then I'm going to do, let's see, the title, recipe title is what I'm looking for. Okay. Actually, let's go ahead and just do recipe. And let's make it equal to this here so that we can keep pulling things out just using a variable and less typing. So just do recipe. And then I can also do, from here, I can also do all the other properties. I'm just going to do this one property just to show that we can do it. Okay, So we have that, and then we need to return the cell. Because here we have to return something. It's going to yell at us. I'm going to do return cell. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to set the titles for the headers. So we're going to do override again function, and we're going to call TableView. And again, just start typing out title. So T-I-T. Okay, so we got title for footer, header. It's title for header in section. Here, make sure. Title for header in section. Section int. Yeah, I think that's it. We'll find out if it's not it then. I'll have to fix it. So basically what I want to do is if the section, so it's less than the header count, then I want it to output the header titles, because if I don't want to like keep outputting titles, so I want to make sure that, hey, if it doesn't have anything, then do it. So I'm going to do if section is less than header titles dot count, then I want you to return the header titles, and we do a brackets because this is an array, so we're going to pull them out by what? So we have section, right? So we'll just go ahead and type in section. Otherwise, I wanted to go ahead and return nil. Okay, let's make this a little prettier. Let's delete some of this extra space. All right. All right, so let's give this a whirl. So let's go ahead and put our, oopsie, we have some errors here. All right, so again, it decided it wanted to capitalize that I. That should clear everything up. Nope, did not. Let's remove that for a second. See if that clears it up. Yes, let's make that a constant. All right. I think we're good. All right, so let's move this away. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so we kind of have an issue here. Basically saying index out of range. I actually made a mistake. I wasn't actually supposed to count the number of titles. I was actually supposed to count data. So how many, what do you call it? How many sections are inside the data variable. So let's go ahead and change this to data and click run. Okay, success. So here we go. We have our recipes, our featured recipes in the latest separated. If we go down to our sample data, we can go and look at pasta salad and see that how the featured flag false. So if it wasn't featured, it would be down the latest, and it is. We see our wonderful sections here, which is awesome. So there we go. If you found this video helpful at all, just give this video a thumbs up. If you want to be notified of when I upload new videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click the bell. All right, friends, till next time. Keep calm and code on.